Hello and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville and also with offices in Fort Lauderdale and Ocala, Florida. Today is Friday, December 11th, 2020. My name is Chris Qualmann, and of course I'm joined by the host and president of Meldon Law, Jeffrey Meldon. It's hard to believe, 2 weeks before Christmas. It's really something, isn't it?
Coming up fast.
I just swear, I thought it was the first of the year 2020. Look at all that's happened this year.
Yeah, we got a big game tomorrow.
We sure do. The Gators play LSU, and of course, our wonderful guest last week, the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, told us he thought we'd take care of Tennessee pretty well, and they put up a pretty good fight, but still a great game.
Yeah, well, I think we'll be heavily favored against LSU, but everybody's really looking at the Alabama game.
I think so, but we don't want to look too far ahead if we want to stay at least in the discussion, for being in the college football playoffs. I think we need to take care of business against LSU. And speaking of Gator sports, once again, we have another iconic figure, a man whose articles I've been reading for many, many years, Mr. Pat Dooley, longtime writer for the Gainesville Sun, a man very well known among Gator fans. Welcome to the program, Pat.
I'm a little bit nervous because you opened up with Steve Spurrier and then brought me. So that's like opening with the Beatles, and then you're bringing the Captain and Tennille on, afterwards. So
I like the Captain and Tennille.
Well, I didn't know as much the Beatles, but yeah, no, it's great to be here, and it's great to be kind of going in a different direction in my life, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Yeah, I wanted you to kind of recap for everybody that's watching or listening a little bit of what's been going on, because I know the last month's been a big deal for you.
It has. I mean, I went ahead and retired from the Gainesville Sun. It was an offer that was hard to refuse, and I was ready to get out. The grind had gotten to be too much anyway. And but I want to keep working because I love to write, and I love to do radio and podcasts. So I'm writing for WRUF, the back nine and the grades. I'm doing that. I'm writing for the University of Florida Alumni Association, writing one a week. In fact, this month, it's the 25th year of Florida softball, and I ranked the top 25 softball players. So interesting who's 1 and 2. We can maybe talk about that if you want. And then doing a podcast here with the great Freddie Wiebe and all the good people that are working here. And that is going to be every Friday. You can hear it. You can see it and hear it on Facebook and YouTube. And if you can listen to it whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So one day I'm going to be able to do this without looking at it. I'm not quite there.
We're still working on it. We don't quite have it yet. Well, what's the name of the program again?
It's another Dooley Noted Podcast. So,
another Dooley podcast.
You used to have Dooley Noted. Yeah. Now it's another Dooley Noted. That's pretty cool. So it sounds like you're going to be really busy.
Well, busy, but not as busy as I was. I mean, that's the thing with when you work at the grind of the paper is tough. It's tougher than people think. They think it's just, it's great life. You just go to games and write about them. But there's a lot of little stuff that you have to end up doing. And I can eliminate all that and just do the fun stuff.
So tell me, what were some of the things that you did not like to do?
Oh, I mean, it's like any business where you have to do seminars and you have to do, these classes that you have to take, hour-long classes, and you have to pass the test. And the way we had started doing things where we were having to actually set up our budgets and stuff like that. Things that normal people have to do, I get it. But we were so lucky we never had to do any of these things. So, but again, I would have stayed there for a long time if this opportunity hadn't come out. My plan was to stay there till 70, but this opportunity was too good. And I'm just happy to be doing the stuff, like I said, that I really like to do.
I wanted to just ask Pat a little bit about your background. I know you were from St. Augustine, correct?
Well, I was born here, but when I was 10, we moved to St. Augustine. And I loved it. St. Augustine at the time of me growing up was the greatest place in the world to live, because it's not like it is now. I mean, where it's so crowded, so many tourists. But it had everything you wanted, including the beach. And then went to school here at Florida. Started at St. John's River Community College, For some reason, they're named the Vikings. I still can't figure that out. How many Vikings do you think landed in?
Not many down the St. John's River. Landed in Putnam County, and
that makes no sense to me. But once I got the stench of the pulp mill out of my nostrils, I came over to Gainesville and went to school here for a couple of years, got my degree, and then went to Fort Lauderdale for a year. Loved that, and that was a great time. But the Jacksonville Journal came calling. That was my favorite paper when I was a kid. So I went up there and then to the Times-Union, and then over here 33 years ago to be the sports editor. I wasn't coming to write. I was coming to be an editor. And I said, well, you know what I'll do? I'll go over there. I'll turn that paper around, because the paper was a mess at the time, and make it look good. And then 2 or 3 years of doing it, I'll go on to the next job. Mm-hmm. And 33 years later, but that's what happened, because first thing we're dealing with is all the stuff with Norm Sloan. Okay?
Oh, right.
That's coming down. And Galen Hall gets fired.
I was about to say, you came right when Galen was still the head coach, right? And then the Gary Darnell after that.
Yep. Yeah. And so Galen gets fired, Randy Reese gets fired. The NCAA was just a sweeping thing. And then Spurrier comes to town and starts winning, and you're never thinking, I got to get another job. You're thinking, okay, they're going to keep winning. They're going to championships. Then Billy comes to town. You're like, okay, I'll stick around for a while. And then Urban comes to town. So the winning kept begatting winning, and I don't think that's the proper use.
Well, and you've seen not just the growth of the big things, the football, the basketball, but just the growth of all the other programs, like you were talking about, the softball teams, women's gymnastics, so many other things, the soccer teams. Sure. It's really amazing just how the whole program has grown.
Well, a good example is softball, because softball wasn't very good. Every game was 1-0. And then all of a sudden, Tim Walton walks in the door, and it just changes and becomes a power. And the SEC started taking softball seriously, and SEC became the power. And being able, I mentioned, and we were talking about this before, how in my farewell column I said, I don't have anything on my bucket list. Because the Gainesville Sun and the Times-Union allowed me to cover everything I ever wanted to cover. I've been to everything: the Masters, Olympics, the NBA Finals, World Series, many Super Bowls, and an awful lot of great college basketball and football situations. But Oklahoma City for softball many times. Mm-hmm. Omaha for baseball many times. I got nothing left. I'm good.
Well, it's pretty amazing, though. The University of Florida athletic program, I think I give a lot of credit to Jeremy Foley.
Sure.
Because Jeremy, and I knew Jeremy when he was the assistant ticket manager.
Me too.
Okay, back in the day. And to see him grow and develop the University of Florida program overall, we are so lucky in the Gainesville, Ocala area to be able to go and watch a baseball game with great, great young players, many of whom are going to go into the major leagues. We see a lot of, the basketball, the women's gymnastics, volleyball. I mean, year after year, it's considered the norm for our athletic programs to be in the top 3 or 4 or 5 in the country.
Yeah, and number 1 in the SEC almost every year. It's very rare when they don't win the All Sports Trophy, which the Gainesville Sun actually gives out, because the SEC quit giving it out.
Because they say, you won it every year.
You win every year. We don't need to do this award. And we go, well, we're going to still keep track. I mean,
so why is it that the University of Florida became so dominant in the All Sports Award?
Well, I give a lot of credit to Jeremy, and the reason I do, and a lot of people criticize Jeremy because we fell behind a little bit in facilities. Mm-hmm. But Jeremy's always a person who believed in people before facilities. And he believed if you got the right coach in there, and whether that's Billy Donovan or Tim Walton or Rhonda Fain, who won 3 national titles
in a row.
Yeah, and whether it's Kevin O'Sullivan, who has turned Florida into one of the superpowers of college baseball.
No question about that.
Getting the right person in there was important, and he felt like, I don't want to get into debt. I don't want to spend all this money on facilities. I want to make sure that our student athletes have everything they need and that the coaches have everything they need. For example, Florida flies out. Now they won't this year because of COVID. they fly out every year to the West Coast and play like these tournaments. And I mean, a lot of schools won't do that. They won't spend that kind of money, but that's where they spent their money. The other thing that's interesting about this, with this COVID thing going on right now, because Jeremy was frugal in the way he handled things, didn't want to get into debt, didn't want to be borrowing money, Florida's not struggling financially the way some of these schools are laying off people left and right, asking for pay cuts.
Eliminating programs.
Exactly.
Florida's sitting there and they're like, we moved a little money around, we're good. So you got to give Jeremy credit for that.
Well, yeah, and it's amazing the quality of coaches that we did have. I want you to give us a little bit idea about what you thought of the coaches, different coaches that were here during.
You had lots of them. How many? Like 6, 7, or more?
Well, in football, it was crazy in football. I consider Billy Donovan to be the greatest coach that ever coached here, and boy, it's close between him and Spurrier, as we know. But to me, Billy came into a program that had nothing, had no tradition, nothing. No,
wait. Lon Kruger did bring them to the Final Four.
They had 1 year.
94.
1 year.
And then he left for greener pastures,
and then
it kind of receded again.
He left, and a lot of it was Vince Carter. They couldn't get Vince Carter. He's like, a kid out of Daytona, he goes, I got to get out of here,
Yeah, and Norm Sloan, if they would have let him keep going, maybe. I think Monty Tao was supposed to take over the program eventually. But you're right. Billy was incredible.
Yeah, he was incredible. But the football coaches I dealt with were all interesting. And the funny thing is, first of all, Steve was the best. I mean, he was so. You would literally walk into the Tuesday press conference and you would go. I would tell Robbie, I got no ideas. I got no idea what I'm going to write. I just don't. They're playing, Eastern Michigan. How am I supposed to get 2 columns out of this? And I'd walk out and I'd go, okay, which ones are you taking? Because Spurrier just given us everything. He'd just given us these one-liners and all these funny stories, and so we could just write about it. So I loved him from that regard, but I think everybody loved him for the winning and taking Florida to a level that it has never been. So he was great. Zook and I didn't always get along, but I think Zook probably got criticized too much.
Let me ask you, what did you think Zook did right, and what did he do wrong?
He recruited.
He was a great recruiter, absolutely.
Think about this. 21 of the 22 starters that won the SEC in 06 were Ron Zook recruits. So he knew how to get players, and he developed them. He clutched up a little bit in games. That was his problem. And then there were some things where he didn't handle very well, getting angry at boosters, getting angry at sports writers.
There was the incident, I remember there was a frat party, a fraternity thing, and there was a little scuffle. He went down there and he had their back, maybe a little too much.
Yeah. But the players all loved him. But, sure. I remember after he got fired, they were getting ready to play, I think it was Georgia. And the players all were saying, we're going to play our hearts out for Ron Zook. We're going to play as hard as we can for Ron Zook. And I just went, bro, how come you didn't play hard for him when he had a job? You got to play hard all the time. So, but no, Ron and I didn't see eye to eye on some things, but we've talked since, and it's been fine. I loved Will Muschamp to death. He's still one of my favorite people in the world. I mean, such a great dude. But would I want him coaching my team? He
definitely knows defense.
Well, I'll tell you,
I think he's forgotten it though. Maybe there.
No, and I give Will credit for being a good businessman because he's making more money than any coach that's actually working.
That's what I told I think it was one of the clubs I spoke to last week. I said, I feel like Will Muschamp. I got a beautiful wife, 2 great kids, and I'm getting paid not to work. It's unbelievable.
Great conversation we got going on here, but my producer is looking at me saying we've got to take a break, but we're going to have you stick around for the next segment. You are watching Meldon Law and Friends a production of Meldon Law, your statewide law firm with offices in Gainesville, Fort Lauderdale, and Ocala, Florida. Check us out on the World Wide Web at www.meldonlaw.com or give us a call anytime toll free at 1-800-373-8000. We'll be right back with Pat Dooley, and thanks so much for watching.
The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job. I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life?
I was riding as a passenger in my friend's vehicle. A fellow ran a stop sign and we T-boned him. Had neck and shoulder and knee injuries and didn't know what to do, and I remember seeing one of Jeffrey's ads. So I gave him a call. He explained everything to me. I'd go see him and everything was done. Everything was taken care of. Don't waste your time with anybody else. Go see Jeffrey.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast from Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with offices in South Florida, also our main office in Gainesville, and also with an office in Ocala. Take a look at us on the World Wide Web, www.meldonlaw.com. Our primary practice areas are personal injury cases, auto accident, big truck cases, and criminal defense. But whatever your question may be, this guy's been doing this a long time. Give us a call anytime, 1-800-373-8000. We'll do our best to steer you in the right direction. Jeffrey Meldon, another great show today, sports oriented. We had the head ball coach last week, Steve Spurrier, a guy that's no slouch in his own right, Pat Dooley. Got to admit, this program's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pat, I want to thank you for coming on, and you're getting involved with all these new things. And
Yeah.
I know you're going to have a good time, and you might even have more time on the links.
I might. That's my plan.
I mean, I noticed you've got a Masters sweater on there. Let's take a look at that logo.
That's just to show off. No, but there's no question that I'm going to be doing a lot of different things, and one of them is a podcast, and it's another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Yes.
And where can people see that?
That'll be on Facebook and YouTube if you want to watch it. And if you want to listen to it, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts.
Is that your personal, your Facebook page, or is it a Facebook for the program?
We are, yeah. Well, I think it's going to be on both. It's going to be on my Facebook page, and I think it'll be up today. Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Dooley spelled your name, Dooley. Okay.
I had to think about it for a second.
So anyhow, Pat, I wanted to ask you, we were talking about coaches. Give us your take on Urban Meyer and his time here. What was it like working with Urban?
Well, it was weird in that I was the only sports writer that he seemed to like. And so we got along good. When he left, we stayed in touch. There was a book I was working on at the time, so I had to call him about, and he was great about it. But it got to a point with the Zach Smith thing where I just said, look, I'm washing my hands. I don't want any more of this. I don't want to have to defend this guy anymore. And so we haven't spoken in a while. I'd be happy to talk to him. But the interesting thing with Urban is they want to put him in the Ring of Honor. I mean, they want to very badly.
I think he deserves it. I mean, heck, 2 national championships, 4 years.
I don't disagree. However, there are a lot of people who say he doesn't deserve it because of the way he left. They don't like it. It sticks in their craw. They need to get over it. But they're worried that you hear, all right, here's a big presentation. They obviously won't do it this year because of COVID. Here's a big presentation, and the next member of the Ring of Honor, Urban Meyer. Boo!
I know, that's a big worry.
I'll tell you, I have so many of my Gator friends who have that attitude, and I always kind of stick up for Urban, saying the guy brought us, 2 national championships, some incredible football year after year.
Well, you have another reason you like him, because you went to Ohio State.
I graduated from Ohio State, right? But,
so you didn't mind when he left for Ohio State.
Well, I figured I always have 2 horses in the race, and they're pretty strong horses in the last 25, 30 years. So I've been lucky.
Well, think about this. If Urban, after none of this stuff happens in 2009, where he's sick, he can't coach.
The Carlos
then
Dunlap,
he comes back.
the DUI.
Carlos Dunlap. Yeah, it's never a good idea to have your car running with your foot on the brake at a stop sign and you be asleep. It's never a good idea.
We tell people that constantly.
Yeah. But let's just say none of that happened. Let's just say he coached through the 2009 season. They lost, obviously, that SEC championship game. He's back for 2010. Or even if he doesn't come back for 2010 and he says, look, I'm gonna go to Ohio State. Now, Ohio State, let's not forget, was not open when Urban left. That Tressel thing
was still there, yeah.
Tressel happened after that happened. So I think some people think he was angling for that job from the start. I just think when he got out of coaching, he missed it too much. Now, the question is, does he miss it again? Because the Texas job is open or may open. I don't think it will, personally. And that would be another job I think he'd be interested in. I think he'd try to get Charlie Strong and some other people back together. So, but the plan Florida has for if they do introduce him as in the Ring of Honor is to have Steve Spurrier do the introduction. So he'll be on the field doing it. And you can't boo Spurrier.
Right.
You're like, what do I do?
That's true.
So it might just be golf applause,
Well, so was it like being a jilted lover or something that when Urban left that the fans just felt like they...
Yeah. I think as much as anything, they felt like, wait a minute. He wants to spend more time with his family. How's he going to spend more time with his family when he's coaching?
Like what Mike Bianchi said, he wanted to spend time with the ESPN family.
Yeah. Well, and I think people took it, personally, and I do understand that. But the bottom line is, I think the way he left with a not a good season, obviously, his last season, and told Will Muschamp when he came in, this program's broken. So he's leaving behind a broken program, and people didn't really like that. But I think there are a lot of people that think like you that this guy won 2 national championships.
Definitely.
And 07 and 09 weren't bad years either.
Yeah, he won a Heisman and got to the SEC championship game.
Yeah, so that SEC championship game, I think, broke his heart.
I honestly think if Dunlop played, that may have been a whole different game.
Might have been, but I'll tell you, Alabama started practice for that game as soon as the 08 game was over. They started working on Florida, and their plan was to don't let Tebow run. He's a good passer, but he's not a great passer. He's not going to beat you by just throwing the ball. But where he gets you is when he starts running and breaks containment. So their whole plan was to stop him from running the football, and it worked really well.
Well, it's interesting. I was going to say, it's interesting you bring that up because at the University of Florida now, I think from the beginning of the year, our game plan is how do you beat Georgia? And we finally figured out a way this year.
Right, and now since then it's been how to beat Alabama.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think we got a shot at it?
I think they play LSU this week.
That's right. Right.
I'm not one of those guys that looks ahead, even as he's a fan or a sports writer. If you don't beat LSU, the Alabama game's almost meaningless. Think about it.
Right. You don't get in the Final Four.
You could win. Yeah, you could still win the SEC championship and go play in the Citrus Bowl or whatever they're going to play. Or they'd probably play in the Sugar Bowl. Yeah.
How does a program as strong as LSU, even though they lost 16, 17 players to the NFL or whatever, how do they drop so far in 1 year?
I think the loss of their coaches was bigger than the loss of the players.
Offensive coordinator and others.
Well, Brady left for the NFL, and everybody said, well, M. Sminger's still the coordinator, and he saw how to do this. I mean, he knows the plays, but I think Dave Aranda leaving for Baylor was a big factor too. And then they bring in Bo Pelini, and we're all like, "What? Bo Pelini? Okay, go ahead." Well, the first game they played, they got destroyed. They never adjusted.
Mississippi State.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't play safeties. You saw it again Saturday against Alabama. Where I think it was Devontae Smith caught a touchdown. There wasn't anybody within 40 yards.
I saw that highlight. Yeah, 20, 30 yards away.
They're just not very good, and they have players, but they're and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. We saw this week a player, Arik Gilbert, who is one of the biggest freshman recruits in the country, says he wants out. Terrace Marshall, who's their best receiver, opted out last week. They've had a lot of that. They've had some issues. They've got the issue of a Title IX violation, possibly with rape charges and stuff like that, going back to Darius Geis. I mean, it is turned. It's almost like it could not have been any better last year. And then just like, okay, now all your karma is going to just land on you.
Well, I have to think they'll come back, though.
But
no, they will. Yeah.
So because what I look at is a team like LSU had recruited. They were in the top 5 year after year after year in recruiting. So you lose a bunch of seniors and a bunch of juniors that are, really good going to the NFL, but you still had top-notch recruiting classes behind them. So it's interesting what you say is that it had to do with the coaching and the management and the structure of the program more than the fact they didn't I mean, I would imagine next year they're going to be very talented again.
Well, I mean, they've also, losing their 2 best receivers. Jamar Chase, don't forget, before the season, opted out, and Jamar Chase won the Biletnikoff Award last year. So you lose your best receiver, then your best receiver leaves what was it, 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. He leaves. Your quarterback gets hurt, and he all of a sudden they decide to shut him down. And this mysterious injury of some kind. We still don't know exactly what it is. And you're playing a true freshman, a quarterback. It's just an absolute mess, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody else but LSU.
So after January, we were talking about this before the show. It's going to be the Wild West when it comes to transfers and people switching programs. How do you think this is going to play out nationally? Are teams just going to lose massive amounts of players? I mean, you look at Coastal Carolina, who played such a great game the other night. These programs that are doing so well, they're probably going to get decimated, it seems to me, with transfers.
Well, you got to remember one thing. There's only 85 players. You only get 85 scholarships, and for example, Florida will have room to sign 20-something, and they'll probably get a couple of grad transfers. DeMarcus Bowman obviously is already transferred in, who was the number 1 running back in the country last year. Didn't like it at Clemson. But you can only take so many. There's just not room. You can't just say, we're going to take 1,000 guys, because you have 85 scholarships. So I think people always think it's going to be the Wild West, and there will be a lot of big names that do move around. But in the end, I think you just got to get a scorecard and see who's on which team.
Right.
It's not as bad as the NBA, where the NBA, it's just, they fly around.
Oh, sure.
In Major League Baseball, you're like, I don't know who's on my team, but I still like them.
I remember, so I grew up in Cleveland when the Cleveland Indians were winning. In 1954, they won 111 games in a 154-game season. It was the strongest American League record ever for many, many years. And so I absolutely knew every single player on that team, on that roster, And I used to listen every game at night, if they lost, I cried, I was a little kid, But sports really did change remarkably in the last 25 years, where you really if you were a sports writer, maybe you could keep track of it, but I couldn't keep track
after
of it.
After Kurt Flood, the whole free agency changed.
And Andy Messersmith was another guy that, in fact, I did a story on him when I was in Fort Lauderdale, that he had really kind of changed free agency too. So, a lot changed, and it's changing even more. And so, when they start talking about the CBA rules and everything, and I just kind of just let me know who's playing. I don't want to get involved in all that stuff.
So, Pat, one thing I wanted to ask you about, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Obviously, you've had a long, storied career in journalism, and the journalism industry has changed incredibly because of social media and all these new technologies. What advice would you give to a young person who's, bright-eyed, wants to get into sports journalism or any kind of journalism, what suggestions would you make?
Get out of the business.
Hopefully my son isn't watching. Betty, ignore what he just said.
But here's the thing. It's not about print anymore. We all know that. As the older generation dies off, the bottom line is fewer and fewer people are going to buy newspapers. So you've got to be good online. You've got to understand computers, and you've got to be good, technically savvy. You can't just say, well, I can write the best story in the world. Okay, can you transmit it? Can you add a picture to it? These are the things you're being asked to do now. And it's a totally different world that we're living in. You got to write your own headlines. I mean, that was unheard of in the old days. So you better be good with a computer. That's what it's all about.
It seems that people are still consuming a lot of information.
Oh, yeah. They're consuming it. They're just consuming it totally different.
Well, and you've got these, Barstool Sports and so many other things that are out there.
So many options,
There really are outlets. I mean, I agree with Jeffrey. There's
lawyer podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of
Can you believe people would actually do that? No. But the point is, though, I agree with Jeffrey. People want information, though. People want to read. I do. I go on the internet every day to just consume anything I can about the Gators, about NFL, the Bucks, whatever. So there are opportunities there. But like you said, you just have to shift the way you do things.
Yeah.
Chris?
They just don't want to go. They just don't want to go out to the to the front porch and have to get a paper. They want to look on their phone.
So, Pat, I've read your columns for years and years and years and followed you, okay? I got to tell you, at the end of your back nine column, you always have this list of songs that you're listening to.
Yep.
And I have no idea where you come up with some of these groups I've never heard of. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, I listen to a lot of different music. And a lot of times I just go on Spotify, or I get on, I hear something, or I hear a song on a show, like the end of a movie, and I go, and I'll get my Shazam out, and then from that, it gives you a bunch more songs. So, but on the new back nine I've got so many complaints about it because people don't want to deal with my music taste, so we're doing something.
I bet I would like some of those songs. I'm pretty eclectic.
Well, it's all pretty. I mean, none of this isn't like it's AC/DC or something. I mean, it's pretty soft stuff. It's a lot of acoustic stuff and a lot of great singers. But anyway, I quit doing that now, and so what we're doing instead on the back nine is we're calling it the Florida 4-pack. So this week it was the 4 best catches of the year for Florida players. So next week it'll be something else.
I have a feeling Kyle Pitts had at least one of those.
I believe it was 2. Yeah. So
Grimes and others.
Grimes had one, and Shorter.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Pat, I am just so pleased and appreciative, I know, on behalf of Jeffrey and the firm, that you've joined us today. And again, we want to remind everybody that Pat has a podcast of his own, a video podcast that is live on Fridays and Mondays at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
And it's another Dooley Noted Podcast. Yes. Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And plus you have the show on WRUF, The Back Nine.
Well, I have the back nine as written for WRUF, as well as the Grading the Gators, and then Jeff Cardozo and I have the Tailgate every day from 4 to 6, the radio show.
That's on WRUF 850, right?
Right, and then Jeffrey is a sponsor of. We appreciate him so much. So,
well, I don't know if you know that we are now an official partner of the Florida Gators.
Yeah.
So
I do, because I listen to my own show.
That's right.
Yeah, well, we're very pleased that the University of Florida chose us to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And Chris and I love being in Gainesville and being part of the
You can tell we like
Gator
sports.
Nation, you know?
So, those are the best questions I've gotten so far, believe me.
All right.
All the interviews I've done.
All right. Well, once again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends. We appreciate our good friend Pat Dooley for joining us today. We are going to be back with a couple of more segments. Today is Friday, December 11th, 2020. 2 more weeks to Christmas. And Jeffrey, I got to say, this is number 7. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the show's getting more and more exciting, and we want to thank everybody who listens to us or views us, and we want you to share it with your friends and let them know that we really have a good time on this show, and we hope you enjoy listening to us.
We'll be right back. Thanks for watching.
I thought I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than not? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 2 herniated discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, also with an office covering the entire South Florida area, Dade County, Broward County, all the way to Palm Beach County, and also with an office in Ocala. Jeffrey, I was just told by our producer that we are now hitting around 30,000 views on Facebook with our weekly podcast. And I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for their support, for watching the program. This is now our 7th. It's really amazing how this has grown week after week.
Yes, I'm really excited because our goal here is to share informative and entertaining information.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we changed the name from Meldon Law Talk, right, to Meldon Law and Friends because this is what the show is. It's just a bunch of our friends hanging out, talking about what's going on. And today we have a great guest, the Reverend Karl Anderson, who is a good friend of ours. And we've been working together for a while now. And I want to welcome you to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. I tell you, this is awesome.
So, Rev, would you please tell us a little bit about your background so the folks listening can know how important you are and what you've been involved in as far as Gainesville and how far back you go?
Well, I accepted a calling as a minister at a very young age, not to mention I was raised up in the house with one, my grandfather, and so it's embedded in me. And so I started doing mission work for quite some time when I was a young adult. And one of my mentors, Sister Hazel, you may be familiar with the rock group.
She had the rock group took her name because they so admired her.
Right, exactly. And she taught me the essence of giving, taught me the methodology of operating outreach, and I just took it and ran with it because it's a part of me. It's part of who I am. My grandparents on both sides, that's what they did. My paternal, grandmother would go to the ball, Diamond and Archer during the summers and give away food to the kids during the summer. And, my grandmother and grandparents in Gainesville, they always prepared more than enough food for guests and kids in the neighborhood. And so it's just a part of me. And so, I love what I do. It represents Christ. And, I often say that I'm purpose driven. And so I try to encourage and instill that in our parishioners and those that I mentor. And it's just been a great journey in my life. I just turned 47, but I've been doing it for so long. It's just second nature. But I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Let's talk about some of the day-to-day activities that you do. What's your day like when you wake up, on Sunday? Tell me, what's a Sunday like?
Oh, yeah, Sunday is typically, getting up, praying, staying focused, going back over the Word, and, as I get ready to prepare it. And I'm just all focused, just like you would in a ball game. You just all there. Your mind, and you're just ready to go. Yeah, so
you have a congregation.
Yeah, I do. Upper Room Ministries is my church. I'm one of the senior pastors there. It's in Gainesville, right. East Gainesville, across from Rollins Elementary, 3575 Northeast 15th Street.
Okay.
And we recently celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Oh, that's amazing.
Of just doing purpose-driven ministry in North Central Florida. We have a widow's wing ministry where we service widows of North Central Florida and beyond. We have a foster's fruit ministry where we cover foster children monthly with different rallies, diaper rallies, baggage rallies for those that are aging out. They may need suitcases, etc. We may do individually wrapped goods. And then during the holidays, like now, we adopted 35 kids to provide their Christmas wish list. And so that was just awesome. And so we partner with Partnership for Strong Family in doing that. There's a scripture that says, pure religion is this, that you watch over widows and orphans and abstain yourself from the world. And so I live and breathe that. And children, foster children are just so dear to me, and I want to see them all adopted, but in the meantime, we want to make sure that they have a wholesome life. And so when my church, just get behind me and behind programs like that and really make it happen, it makes me proud, and I know God is smiling.
Well, listen, Rev, I wanted to have you tell the listeners a little bit about the Stop the Violence program, which I think you've been doing for 21 years now?
Yeah, and I thank you for being a part of it this year. This year was a little different because of COVID, and we had to be creative with it. And so we took it out to, the fairgrounds, where we had been doing, we had done 16 what we call community relief days out there. We had drive-through food giveaways. We would place the food in people's trunk, and we partnered with Farm Share, and we fed over 100,000 individuals this summer between March and the end of July. Well, it was like the culmination of that. We kept the same format, and this time we say, well, you know what? We're giving away 5,000 backpacks filled with school supplies. Let's do it. Let's keep the same model. Everybody's safe. They're socially distanced. We have a good group of volunteers, and so you were there, Jeffrey.
It was wild. I felt like I was in a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
So I went up on the stage, and instead of an audience, right, there was like hundreds and hundreds of cars parked, right? And it was so cool, and everybody was so appreciative, and I was just absolutely blown away by the organization and how appreciative the people were that you were helping the kids with getting ready for school.
Yes, the fact that we were able to pull that off in the middle of a pandemic was phenomenal. And I can't thank sponsors like you enough for jumping on board with us and still making it happen. And again, looking at the smiles on those kids' faces and
that must really touch your heart, just to see the transformation.
It does.
Just see the way you affect lives every single day.
Yeah, and tell us about the turkey giveaway that we had.
Yeah, man, we did that. Our church, we give away food every Monday. We call it Manna Market Mondays. Every Monday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And so we do this all the time, but we wanted it to be special this year, so we partnered with the Long Foundation.
Rodney Long, sure.
Yeah, the Long Foundation. He does the Strikeout for Hunger every year, and we're usually recipients because he feed back to our local pantry. But this year, we contributed as well, and like never before. And and you contributed, Jeffrey. You were there again, and we gave away. I don't know the exact number, but it had to be about 5,000 people out there. You thought there were a lot of people out there during the rally. We were out there from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., nonstop cars, back to back, and we're giving away turkeys, all the other foods, all the fixings, even bottles of Coca-Cola. I mean, it was just, we gave them.
Now, do you get some of that donated?
Yeah, we did. We got some of that donated, and again, we had also monetary donors as well. and from churches to civic groups, the sororities, fraternities, and local businesses like yourself. Wow. And so it's just wonderful when we all can come together and make things happen.
I'll tell you, when I go to those events, I really feel like Gainesville is a very special community.
It is.
I feel that
you're a
way.
major part of keeping people together, and sometimes just a little act of kindness can go a long way.
Yeah.
Guys, this is wonderful, and I mean, your energy is infectious, and I mean that in a very positive way. It is wonderful. We've got to take a break. You are watching, again, Meldon Law and Friends. We're here with a very wonderful friend, the Reverend Karl Anderson, talking about all the great things his ministry is doing. We will be right back for our fourth and final segment today, Friday, December 11th. Thanks again for watching.
Being a client of Meldon Law was special because I felt like I was really being listened to, and I felt welcome by the entire staff. If I were in a situation where I needed legal advice and help, I would absolutely reach out to Jeffrey because his reputation alone speaks for itself. But on a personal level, I know that he would take care of me and help me solve those problems, and I would feel safe with him.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, also covering the entire South Florida area, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach County, and also with an office in Ocala. Today is Friday, December 11th, 2020. I want to remind our watchers and listeners, depending on the format in which you're watching us or listening, that you can find us on the World Wide Web at www.meldonlaw.com. Our primary practice areas are injury cases, meaning big truck crashes, motor vehicle crashes, trip and fall, slip and fall, animal bite. We also handle DUI and criminal defense cases. Give us a call anytime, toll free, 1-800-373-8000, and even if it's something outside those areas, Jeffrey's been doing this a long time, we'll have a legal professional direct you in the right path. It's been a great episode today, and we are so blessed to have a wonderful community civic leader like Reverend Karl Anderson. And Jeffrey, I know that that's been a hallmark of you and Meldon Law, is community involvement.
Yes, we take it very seriously that we want to give back to the community. And having partners like Reverend Anderson is great because we're friends, we have a good time, and we enjoy helping other people. And in the long run, you get back what you give, and
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
So I admire that day in and day out you have that focus, and I really want to thank you for everything that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about the greater Gainesville ministry and who's involved and how many people do you reach?
Sure. So for 4 years now, I've been the president, and I must say founding president because I was the first of the Alachua County Christian Pastors Association. We typically say ACPA, it consists of pastors from all over the county, many denominations, many ethnic backgrounds, and it was wonderful how it came together. Here in Gainesville, in our market, we had two pastor associations. We had a ministerial alliance that was predominantly black. We had a pastor association that was predominantly white. And me being president of the ministerial alliance, I was like, it really doesn't make sense for us to have two associations, especially in a market this size. And we serve the same God, we have the same mission, and Phil Corson, who was the president of the CPA, felt the same way. And so we merged, and when we came together, they decided to have me as president, and Phil became VP, and we've done some wonderful things together. We've gotten together, and we've had National Day of Prayer events. We've gotten together, and again, like this summer, we all came together and did the community relief days. All the churches came out. They sowed into it. They put sweat equity into it. It was a wonderful thing, and we're going to continue to do things together. We're going to continue to grow. My tenure as president will be over at the end of this year, but Alex Farmer will be president, and they still got me there.
I have a feeling you're not going to be backing down 1 second.
Well, they put me at VP like they still want me to do stuff. So
and you will be doing stuff.
Yeah, I will be doing stuff. I love it. I love it. And one of the main things I love about it is the unity. And you mentioned it earlier, Jeffrey, that we're better together. We're better together. And it takes us to come together to make great things happen.
I want to tell you that I'm so impressed at how you've risen to the challenge of the COVID epidemic and what you've done as far as it's like COVID came around, and instead of doing less, you were doing more.
Yeah, it was time to roll up our sleeves. There was no time to back down. I'm looking at people hurting. I know several people that have died and that were close to me. Just in my denomination alone, we've lost over 35 bishops, so it really impacted me in my life, and so it hit home. And so, I was like, the need is great. We tried it one time. And when I saw that we had basically shut down one side of the city because there were so many people coming, not only from Gainesville, but even Ocala, I said, the need is great. We have to do more of this. And so we just kept doing it. We set a goal for ourselves. Said we're not going to stop until we provide food for over 100,000 individuals.
So we've got Christmas coming up in the New Year's. Yeah. What if people are still in need? Obviously.
Sure.
What sort of activities are going on? What sort of food giveaways and other programs?
Well, we're going to be giving away food every Monday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We were there this past Monday. Jeffrey, you were a part of it. You gave away gift cards to Harry's. It was amazing. And they loved it. They couldn't believe we were giving it away. I say that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, that's just who he is. And so, it was one lady came up, she was crying, and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And so, listen, it's amazing that we not only had food to give away, but boom, a gift card as well. Like, whoa. and so even if there were people still coming afterwards, I'm hoping that there are more. I have a feeling
there'll be a few more.
Oh, yeah. Next Monday, like, can I fill out that card? Right. But we got some things coming up. We're going to be collecting toys, food, and if you want to be a part of it.
So I wanted to ask you that specifically. I know there'll be some people watching who are going to say, especially once they see your energy and this guy's, they're going to say, how can we get involved? So if somebody wants to volunteer, whether it's sweat equity or money or sponsorship, how do they get in touch with you to become involved?
Listen, we welcome the support. We welcome the collaboration. You can call me. I'll give you my cell, 352-339-3851. That's 352-339-3851. Or you can reach me via email. That's Pastor K at the letter U, letter R, welcomehere.org. And, just reach out to us, and let's make some things happen. Let's continue to change this world.
We'll put a graphic up when this is on.
Yeah, I like that email address. You are welcome.
Yeah, that's my church. That's my church.
Welcome here.
That's my church website.
Upper room.
That's
I
right.
get it.
That's
Upper room.
Yeah,
welcome.
that's right. You're welcome here. We welcome everyone. So come on out.
Oh, that's just wonderful. Looking ahead, to 2021, and you talked about unity, and obviously that's an issue we're dealing with as a nation now. And what are your thoughts about ways that your ministry can help people heal, help this nation come together emotionally and spiritually, not just in terms of food and giveaways?
Well, we're doing more than just praying. I often tell people we're bigger than Sunday morning. we have these cards that we hand out to people that says "You matter," and it's important that we let people know that they are worth. Something. They're valuable. Their life is valuable, and so we got this campaign that's saying "You matter, you matter, you matter."
Do you know what our logo is?
What?
Meldon Law? You matter most.
Come on, man. That's why we get along so well, man. We don't want
Synergy. How about that?
That's right.
That's it.
That's why we get along so well. So listen, it's just a blessing when things work out that way, and and we're playing it safe too. Even as a ministry, we welcome people to come. And we're doing drive up now. We're doing the drive up. You just sit in your car, look and listen, tune into the radio transmitter, and we've been doing that for our New Year's Eve celebration.
You have a radio broadcast for your services?
Yeah. When people come up, just like they're doing the new style drive-in movies.
Okay.
Yeah, you just tune in to a certain frequency.
I see.
And you get a chance to hear, so you don't have to let the windows down and be cold and freezing.
I bet one of your sermons is quite an experience.
Well,
very uplifting.
I've been told that.
So how do you get trained to give a really good sermon?
Well, I went through, C.H. Mason Seminary Bible College here, and under Dr. D.R. Williams. He was one of our professors here locally, and Reginald Williams, they trained us on what you would call on how to study the Word and how to present the Word, and so it's a wonderful art, on doing both, and when you learn that, it helps you out with what God gives. It's one thing for Him to give it to you; it's another thing to present it.
Well, I want to ask you that. Okay, now I'm sure you prepare ahead of time, right?
Yes.
And do you stay on script, or do you kind of go off script as the
spirit moves you?
He'll do that from time to time. I mean, this past Sunday, I think I kind of went off script, and he dropped another analogy in me about a baby. It's like, and I'm up there like rocking, like, where did I get this from?
But I mean, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
I do.
Close,
yeah.
And in the close,
kind of like a jury final argument. Yeah.
But that close, I don't know where it came. That came from the Holy Spirit, because I did not imagine doing that. It was amazing. It was an amazing illustration. But many people were touched. Lives were changed, and I'm just grateful for what I do.
So, is there a Facebook page where people can learn about what's that page?
Upper Room Ministries is our page.
Upper Room Ministries.
Upper Room Ministries is our page. We have a fan page and a group page. Go to the fan page. You'll catch us every Sunday at 10 a.m. and watch what we do. And,
I'll be watching. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, check us out. We have an awesome music ministry to set the atmosphere, and then the speaker will come forth and deliver the word.
Again, I just want to say how much I appreciate you. I know Jeffrey and our firm as a whole, we are just so grateful for the work you do, the work your ministry does day in and day out, and the work you're continuing to do. And we'll have you back.
Thank you. It'll be an honor. It'll be an honor.
I'll tell you, it's really a pleasure. I moved to Gainesville in 1970.
Oh, wow.
And I have known a lot of the pastors in the community over the years.
Yes.
And it's so great making your acquaintance and getting to be a friend of yours.
Yes.
And I could see you're carrying on the tradition, because really the Alachua County area has had some incredible pastors that have really inspired a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think your name's right up at the top there.
No question about that.
Thank you.
Once again, you have been watching Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Friday, December 11th, 2020. Just another great show, wonderful show. We truly are a podcast that's all about friends, people that contribute to the community, like Reverend Karl and many others. We want to remind you that you can spread the word. Watch this podcast along with the 30,000 others who've been watching week after week on our website or on Meldon Law Facebook page. The Meldon Law Facebook page is the best place to see it. Do spread the word and take a look at our website at www.meldonlaw.com.
I wanted to add one more thing.
Sure.
During the holiday season, we give away free gift cards to Harry's Restaurant. All you have to do is sign up for the Meldon Law newsletter, and you can either call the office at 1-800-373-8000 or go to meldonlaw.com, and you'll get the newsletter. You can get a free $25 gift certificate to Harry's Seafood. And
I'm signing up.
We are trying to, spread the word, and we love having you folks watch the show, listen to the show, and anything that we can do to give back to the community is our blessing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Go Gators.
You betcha.